Yeah, so if we add the second variety in there, it does the same thing. And the reason I'm not seeing this grass out here is because of the quality settings. So I can just copy those over. And don't get hung up on the frames per second stuff here. The frames per second in the editor, especially with these big grass fields and junk like this. At the bottom, yeah, you got a point. There it is. Oh, there you go. You can do both if you want. It looks like you get better results with what you were talking about with different grass fields. Just modifying this singular grass instead of having a multiple grass sort of thing. So basically, you should be able to mess around with adding flowers and like shit like that in here nicer. And if you want like a flower patch versus like normal flowers or whatever, right? You know, like this area should have a higher concentration. You should just be able to make another layer inside of the landscape and just have like dirt, grass, flowers, flower patch or whatever, and then you could just, you know, go draw a flower patch on there and you'll have flowers. What? Yeah, the quality setting stuff there is going to be pretty nice. So we can have, you know, more highly detailed stuff, and there's also a start call distance and a min call distance. So you can completely customize different levels of the stuff. So like, if Bitey is here and he's looking that direction, he can see, you know, super high res flowers and trees, and then through here he can see a different resolution and then a different one even beyond that. So you can kind of define those layers and figure it out like you want. And it also can be used not only for the quality settings in terms of lower poly meshes, but it could also be used for the lengths of the grass or something like that. So if the grass is too close to the camera, make it super small and stuff like that. It doesn't linearly interpolate or anything, but it could be useful for a few things. Also, welcome back, Twitch Warfy. I'm glad you think things are looking cooler. That's what we're trying to do at the moment. Is there a density number where it starts to choke? That's a good question. Mountain has simple collision. So what you want to do is you're going to want to test that out. So what you should do is go mess with those values and then make a shipping build and see what it is. And that's really what you want. It's something we'll just have to tune, right? I think the big thing though is it's going to dynamically create all this stuff regardless, so you know, I don't think we have to worry about it too incredibly much. I think the rendering is going to be the biggest issue because all these things are nicely slapped onto the landscape. So I'm doing the exact opposite of what you intended. Well, good. That's what an engineer is supposed to do. So like we're getting like 36 frames per second here. Well, let's kick off a shipping build, and this should only take a little bit, like 30 seconds or something. And I wouldn't go absolutely insane with a lot of the density. I think we'll probably be able to, with a good ground texture, or a not awful ground texture, along with post-processing stuff, it'll look fine without having 2 million grass chunks all over the place. And I would use increasing the density as a last resort for making stuff look good, as opposed to kind of a first line. This is how we make things look good. Because a lot of the density, a lot of the stuff that we'll be doing with post-process, a lot of the stuff the density would be doing would be removing, you know, all the different edge colors and all that sort of stuff. At least in my mind, that's what I see it doing. Is it makes, you know, us not see the ground, and the post-processing stuff should help with edge detection and all that sort of stuff and kind of wash it out for us. All right, so let's boot up the shipping build we just made. And as you can see, our frames per second is not anywhere near messed up. And this is with us running a version of the editor behind this, you know, like, and streaming and doing all this other crap. So, you know, it's not even a fair test case. What's the size of the build? Well, let's just take a raw look at it. 700 megs. And then what you want to do is go into content and see what's actually causing issues. And it's like Windows no editor pack file is 500 megs. So everything's all packed up. So you can't really look at exactly how big the level is, but it's packing in every level, right? Yeah, Twitch Warfare. I put it in there. If you hold the down key, it pans the camera down. So obviously, I think I can do this. Let me see. The landscape if I set its collision type, collision preset to terrain. Let's see if I can pan through the bottom of it. Ah, yeah. So I can still pan through the bottom of it, so I think it's, yeah, I'm casting a ray in front of the player. So I can probably go check that out and put some collision on the camera and stuff like that to make it so you can't look below the world. But we'll be good. I'll do that later. Yeah. It's kind of a grassy underworld. You know. And if you were wondering what the size of the actual level content is, though, for this level, that's different. That'll be test levels, tech test, not in tech test, but prototype, visuals, grasslands at night. So we have these shared assets, which are just the layers. That's 4K. And the whole level right now is a grand total of like, 2 megs or something. So yeah, that's what I was saying when you're like sculpting all that stuff, and then I was trying to mess around with that. This is total bullshit. Like it's just dumb. Like, because I made these editing tools for my game in college, where we made height maps, we made triplanar texturing on there, and then we could draw on foliage and crap like that, and it wasn't. And we had it so you could put foliage on it in the beginning and all that. Like, we had all this shit. It's not that complicated to make. Alright. So what's the next thing we should work on? I'm thinking we need that skybox in there. That's the next thing. So let's get a skybox into this level. And I think the best way to do that is to go copy a skybox from one of the other levels. Also, Adam, one of the things I would recommend you do is for all of the assets you got with levels, just right-click on it when you're actually playing, capture a thumbnail of it, and then it'll be a lot easier to find. Like, this one's Sunset Over Waterfall because it's got all the cool shit on it. And if nobody has seen this one, this is what we were working with earlier, which is we're trying to get like a ridiculous, let's say we're in HD washed out ridiculous land and we want a ridiculous sunset to blind players and, be complete tool bags. This is that sunset. And it's performing really badly at the moment, but that's literally only because we're not in the release mode. But let's grab the sky from this thing. So we're going to copy these. Hello, Carcan. Yeah. Welcome to the stream. So for our directional light, which we were using right there, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. Alright, and we're going to mess with our skylight. So we're going to use the SLS captured scene for the skylight. Light mass is in there. Alright, so our sky sphere. So colors are determined by sun position. Alright. I'm going to reset all these values to default. Change the sun height to 1. So this is the middle of the day, but of course we're trying to make nighttime. Trying to make this dude. So we are at night, and we want a perfectly, like, we don't want any clouds, or we want very few clouds. Oh god, the stars are too bright. But we do want bright stars. How do we intend on dealing with ambient light? I'm not sure what you mean by ambient light. Do you mean just like ambient light in some respects is light that comes from no direction? It's just light all over the place? For Unreal, we have the skylight, which I think is the closest thing, which is the light of, it'll take this surrounding area and it will cast the light from there onto these surfaces. And I think that's maybe what you're thinking about. So now the problem is I want to lower the horizon. I probably need to build the lighting for any of this to look anywhere near proper. Alright, maybe I should look this up real quick. A friend was having issues with ambient lighting in a sealed area that was not exposed to the skybox, but was too large for an even point lighting system. That sparked your curiosity. Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I was looking at. I was kind of not happy with some of it because it was like, well, this is, what if I don't want the ambient light to be from the outside? You know, what if that's not the kind of game I'm making? Yeah, I think it's basically you want the cube map there to override or whatever, something like that. For like, okay, I'm inside, I shouldn't be using the cube map from blah, I should be using something else, and I don't know though. So don't take my false reassurances as reassurances that you are correct. Instead, take them for what they are, which is complete guessing. So we don't really want like a horizon skybox sort of thing for this. Like we're looking more for like a space skybox. Like I want a sort of skybox that you'd see on like an alien world with no horizon. Because I don't want this gray fall off stuff. I want like, you know, I want a perfect thing. Let's see. Let's Google space skybox Unreal. Let's see if there's something nice about that. Alright, so how to create a simple space skybox. First, we need to create a cube map texture. You can go find a step-by-step process on how to create one. Here's an awesome application to create space skyboxes. Which one is this? Before continuing, we need to know what exactly is the sky dome we're going to create, which is basically a really big sphere enveloping the scene. We start creating a new blueprint, and in the blueprint components we add a scene component as a root and a static mesh component as the scene component. We need to create a sphere for the static mesh. Now moving forward, we need to change one small setting to actually see something inside of our sky dome. That's cast switch shadows off. Why? Because if we add a directional light to our scene, the light from the directional light won't light the object. Alright, so we don't want to cast shadows. I guess that's kind of true with our skylight, like it's at night. So we don't need to cast shadows. In fact, we're not even lighting the scene, are we? We're probably going to want to use a directional light for actual light. Yeah, Calvin, make sure to tell your friend all the wrong things because you learn the most when you make all the mistakes yourself. So it's important to incredibly frustrate people because it will help them out in the long run. And because it's fun to see other people struggle sometimes. And then it's even more fun when they struggle in front of a live audience on Twitch and you can like shit talk them at the same time. I'm just saying, it's just something I might think about. Alright. So, supposedly, there's like Spacescape. There's some cool stuff for making stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and save this link for later. I can see if there's any... maybe there's something cool going on there. Let's see. We need to assign a new material to display the sky dome. Whatever it is, time to create the material. Import your DDS cube map texture. The mode is texture sample, blah. Alright, so if we go to our sky sphere, and we edit the blueprint. So we've got the mesh, we've got clouds and shit like that. Incredibly frustrated people can't convert. Sounds familiar. I don't know what you're talking about. This is not something that we try to do every weekend. So we have our sky biodome, refresh material, directional light actor, colors determined by sun brightness. So these are our different variables that we have. So this is our material. So that's pretty much all we need to do to just get rid of the horizon line. And you can barely see those stars if you're looking hard enough on that screen there. They're there. So this clamp is basically what we're looking at. So if we made a different material for this skybox thing, then we could lower the horizon. Or we could remove the horizon completely. Well, where is this located? Engine content, engine sky. Why don't we just make some test content for a new sky? So let's go ahead. We've got our sky sphere. I'm going to say blueprint, test, night sky. And we're going to have to, you know, revert and do all sorts of crap in source control because that's just what we do. Alright, this will be test sky, panning, blah. Alright, so we've got this. Colors are determined by sun. The sun height is going to be -1. Stars are going to be super bright. I'll put them at 100 because we want. Alright, maybe not 100, maybe 20. Where were you when the acid kicked in? Ah! Alright. So we'll boot up this test night sky blueprint here. So I think it's our construction script right here is this sky panning in clouds, panning clouds 2. So we want M test sky. Yeah, that's our material, so we'll compile that and save it. Do that whole thing. And then we can go mess around with this copy of this thing here. And let's just get rid of the horizon. Whoa. Those stars look absolutely awful. Holy shit. When you're actually playing it. Look at that. That looks terrible. So we got clouds over here. Cloud colors. Sun. And this is the actual stars. That's our texture for our stars. Looks pretty bad if you ask me. I wonder who made this star map, Mr. cdrive/user/jordan.walker. I wonder who. Aha, aha, here we go. We have found the person who made this star map. We have found Mr. Walker. That's the dude. If you want to know why the star map looks like it does, just look at that guy. Just look at his smiling face. He'll get you. Anyway, I do not know that person. So let's see. It's the internet. That's just what you do. You look up people who, and you get an idea of who that is, and you're like, oh, the lead artist put together a Starfield. He probably did a better job than me just saying, well, look at those stars. No wonder they look like shit. You're like, no, they're made for a reason. This guy was able to make this 512 by 512 piece of, very low res Starfield look like that when you're looking at it. Like doing his job. So what we want to do is we want to figure out with this cube map thing why the texture sample for the stars is not nearly as good as we want it to be. So we have like the text coordinate 1 up here for this texture coordinates. We're multiplying that by star brightness. Akalia77, thank you for following. Hopefully you're not the tech artist I just looked up on, or lead artist I just looked up on LinkedIn and already coming to beat me up. So what are we looking for? We're looking for basically why this texture coordinate is as it is. Yeah, that was one of the things. One of my friends was streaming some VR stuff on their games. You making fun of my textures? And he said like that he forgot to get his girlfriend rolled in, and he had forgotten that he had ordered Amazon like Prime Now, and like the dude had like showed up at the apartment and was like, what the hell, like nobody showed up, and then like called his girlfriend because she was like the owner of the account, and she had to like hurry over and get the groceries, and the guy was super angry. And so the girlfriend rolled in on stream and was just like, what the hell, why didn't you get this guy's, I had to like drive across town and like come over here because you assholes were streaming and all that. And so I quickly made a Twitch account using the details of that situation and logged in and started being like, oh, it's you bastard. It was pretty good. And of course, the girlfriend did not understand how the internet works and that I was obviously just a troll and was like, oh my god, is that really him? Alright, so we're using, like, we've got this sky clouds texture. What I want to figure out is basically where we're sampling these textures from and what the correct resolution is for these things. It's like we have text coordinate 0 and the UV tiling is 0.5 and 0.5 on this texture. This texture is this cloud's M, which is this thing, which is of texture type skybox. And it's 2048 by 1024, but it's being displayed at a much lower resolution. So one of the things we could do is change the tiling of these for this text chord, like it was at 12 and 12. If we went to like a 36 by 36. And that's looking a lot better, isn't it? And now we can look under the world. There's nothing but stars. Alright, so now we have our infinite star field of infinity. Every guy is all-knowing, omnipotent being. He will find you. You have pissed him off that much. He doesn't want any of your garbage. Alright, so we have the star field that does not look right unless you're actually playing. Should we mess around with it a little bit more? Let's try 48 by 48. How about a 64 by 64? Starting to look a little samey-same. I think we hit it right on the head with the 36 by 36. It's looking fine to me. Let's turn down the brightness. Yeah, it's looking pretty sweet. Actually, this has a whole lot less stars. They're much less bright, so maybe we should turn down the brightness even more just to try to match. So that's with a 5 brightness. Let's go with the 2 brightness. I mean, I think that's close enough. Well, it was mainly the girlfriend was all angry at. I mean, this is just typical relationship bullshit, you know. Obviously not angry because the situation was so awful that, you know, oh no, we inconvenienced the delivery man who probably this happens to all the goddamn time, and the person was courteous and like came over and like helped and answered their phone and actually paid for stuff, right? Like that's delivery man didn't give a damn, obviously. But it's something to bitch to like your significant other about, and you know, because that person didn't take out the trash weekend or last weekend or something, you're still salty about it. It's something to, you know, stick it to them. So you can't take that away from them. All right, let's. See if we can fix those clouds. So let's go mess with the cloud stuff, because I don't really care about being proper here. I care about blah, 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 blah. So let's just see. If we screw with the tiling on this, can we get it to do what we want? Yeah, okay, we're starting to get where we want here. So I'm not really showing it. I'm changing the UV coordinates for the cloud. The cloud texture. The multipliers for them. And I'm just trying to collapse the texture a bit, and you can see there's more than one texture. So what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this garbage going on here. So basically what this thing has been doing is it's got this horizon distribution, this 0 to 1 clamp with the dot and the warp on it. Basically what I think we want to do is we want to set it to 0. Wow, those look really bad. They're just super low res. Hello, little Sarah Lee. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you're having a good day. At cloud opacity, I'm trying to deconstruct and mess with a few things at the moment. Bitey inside a Dyson sphere. He was captured by aliens, and this is his life now. Alright. I'm gonna take a quick bio break and I'll be back. I'll just leave this here. Alright, so this is the texture sample. And what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to figure out which part of this material is you can usually mess with materials by messing around with big chunks of them, setting stuff to 0 and 1. And this also happens. What I've found is that